Folklore across the world shares one strict rule about the supernatural. Spirits do not attack random victims. They require an open door. To understand how these doorways are formed, we can look at two separate cases. First, Kritika, a young student navigating her daily commute, and Rizwan, a newlywed husband holding on to a dark secret. Looking at these overgrown, neglected stone monuments, it is easy to see how the physical desolation of a graveyard can make someone drop their guard. Taking a shortcut home, Kritika spotted a fresh grave belonging to a young man named James. Thinking nothing of it, she playfully offered to be his girlfriend so he wouldn't be lonely in the afterlife. In the supernatural ecosystem, the universe does not care about intent. A casual, innocent joke carries the exact same metaphysical weight as a deliberate ritual. By speaking directly to the grave, Kritika had given a verbal invitation. Rizwan's doorway was built entirely on cruelty. After marrying Megha, a woman who severed ties with her own family to be with him, he abandoned her. He left for a job in an Arab country, lied about securing her a visa, and trapped her with his hostile, abusive parents. Driven to despair, Megha took her own life. Because she had kept her original faith, the local cemetery refused to bury her. Her remains were hastily discarded in a nearby jungle. This sequence breaks from the traditional burial cycle, entirely bypassing the rituals meant to guide the dead. Extreme trauma and disrupted mechanics create a massive spiritual vacuum. Without a recognized send-off, the trapped soul tethers directly to the source of its pain, locking on to Rizwan. We manufacture our own monsters. Whether through a careless whisper or a shattered marriage vow, human error creates the conditions for the dead to return. Once a spirit crosses over, the haunting enters the parasite phase. These entities do not select their methods at random. Their supernatural abilities directly reflect their unresolved earthly desires. In life, James was a stubbornly toxic and dangerously obsessive young man. He died in a fatal accident while fleeing after harassing a girl. After death, his toxicity amplified. He seized Kritika's careless invitation and weaponized it, manifesting a possessive psychological haunting and declaring outright ownership over her. He began isolating her, he invaded her home with terrifying phone calls, and actively drove a wedge between Kritika and her best friend Ria, thus ensuring that his target was left completely defenseless. An obsessive haunting functions as a psychological disease. The objective is not immediate physical harm, but the slow erosion of a victim's sanity and independence. While James drained his victim psychologically, Megha targeted Rizwan's household with sheer physical wrath. Her violent manifestation connected directly to the way she was wronged. She was stripped of her basic dignity and her status as a wife by the living, so she sought to reclaim that power in death. When Rizwan married a second time, Megha struck. She directly terrorized the new bride by spontaneously burning her wedding garments to ash inside a closed room. In both cases, the initial instinct to hide and hope the terror would pass only facilitated the escalation. Inaction allowed James to move from phone calls to physical possession, and Megha to move from ghostly sightings to arson. These physical hauntings act as a direct response to a social theft. Megha's violence was the only method left to assert her identity after being discarded by Rizwan's family. You cannot negotiate with a curse. It must be forcibly severed through accountability and highly specific ritualistic intervention. Kritika's family brought in Father Evans. He treated the entity as an invader, utilizing combative confrontation and divine authority to forcefully break James's demonic grip. Megha's vengeance required a completely different approach. Because her wrath stemmed from a denied burial, a combative exorcism would only escalate the violence. Looking at this meticulous arrangement of copper pots and ceremonial ingredients, we see the tools of the Narayan Bali ritual. Rizwan's Guruji performed this rite to provide the formal cultural recognition Megha was missing, effectively closing her trapped node by fulfilling the burial cycle. Distinct cultural frameworks act as specific antidotes. You must correctly diagnose the motive of the ghost, whether it is a stubborn obsession or a righteous demand for peace, to apply the correct spiritual cure. These rituals provide the necessary structure to end a haunting, but they reveal a shared truth. A curse cannot exist without a host that sustains it through fear. While the rituals address the external spirit, the internal cure involves reclaiming authority. When a victim moves from a state of panic to active confrontation, supported by the ritual's framework, the spirit's anchor to the living world is severed. Ghosts and curses function as mirrors. James reflected a lack of personal boundaries, while Megha reflected the weight of Rizwan's betrayal. Ultimately, these cases show that the most effective way to banish a spirit is to resolve the human actions that invited it in the first place. Accountability is the only way to lock the door for good.